Hello and welcome to Flight Sim Alaska. I'm Dave, the armchair bush pilot. For today's virtual flight seeing tour of Alaska, I thought we'd do something just a little bit different. So to start, we're going to go ahead and take off here in south central Alaska, just north of the Chugach Arm that comes off of Cook Inlet here. And we're going to take off out of an airport called Wolf Lake. It's a private airport in Palmer, I think. It's between Palmer and Wasilla. In any case, it's just about 10 minutes from where I live. But that's not the exciting part. So give me a second to get into the airplane and I'll come right back to you. Alright, so here we are in the Cub at Wolf Lake Airport in the wintertime, at least as much as I could make it the wintertime. And Wolf Lake Airport in the sim doesn't look like it does at all in reality. So what's special about today's video is that we're going to do a comparison flight, and I'm super excited about this. I did get the opportunity to go up in a Piper Pacer over the weekend, and I took some videos and I took some pictures, and I thought I'd go ahead and share those with folks and do comparisons to what the simulator looks like versus what real life looks like. And it's a pretty stark contrast, actually. But anyways, the airplane that we flew in, that's the closest to this, really, I think. A little bit more gauges and dials. Maybe perhaps the Cessna 152 would have been slightly closer, but this is what we've got. And I will say this narrow taxiway, we're going to head over to that right now. That's pretty true to what we had, except where I'm sitting right now was covered in trees. And we didn't have to, we only had to get out and push once, let's put it that way, which was awesome. So, so here we go. Let's go ahead and taxi a little bit. And as I do this, I'll flip up some real images that try to match where I'm at in the simulator versus where we are. Now, again, we are right near my own hometown, and I've done a ton of videos near where I live in Wasilla, but there's some times where I sort of forget just how remarkable of a place it is to live in Alaska and how close we are to some really phenomenal wilderness areas. In a 1 hour flight, we covered so much darn ground, and we got to see a lot of neat stuff, and that's a rare thing. All right, cool. So let's just go ahead and try to line up here. Now, I did not go fix this airport. I thought about it. You can see it's pretty goofed up. I considered modding it and making it look a little closer to reality by, for example, putting the runway more or less level with reality. But I concluded that that I really wanted to do an authentic comparison of the simulator to reality. So here we are. Let's go ahead and take off here. You'll notice I'm not mucking with ATC just at the moment. I feel like it's kind of a pain in the butt for me. Cool, here we go. Alright, and we are going to turn north. We're going to head towards Hatcher Pass. And I did do a video of Hatcher Pass. I'll go ahead and put a link in the description if you want to check that out. And let's go ahead and have a look as we take off. Let's look to our right here. Remarkable stuff. Remarkable stuff. So what we're looking at to our left is the Talkeetna Mountains, and off to the right is the Chugach range. So Talkeetnas and Chugach right there. And we are flying over a span of area that's midway between Wasilla and Palmer there in south central Alaska. And we're heading towards Hatcher Pass right here. Trim out just a little bit here. I'm going to aim for about 5,500 feet, I think. That should be consistent with our altitude over the weekend, and it should get us over these Talkeetna Mountains, which is ultimately what we'd like to do. Now, I will say, if you fly through here in the wintertime in real life, you'll find that this is not green like this. It's all, well, you can see it here in the video that I shared, or that I incorporated, I should say. And I do apologize, I don't have a script for this particular YouTube video. I'm just kind of going off the cuff and talking about my area and trying to splice in those videos I took that are really remarkable. But anyways, as I was trying to say, or trying to get around to, the flight simulator is gorgeous. I love it. You can show off Alaska in ways that you simply can't in any other format besides real life. And as I'm not a pilot, I'm not, really able to get up, fly around Alaska and do videos, even though that would be really, really neat. And also, Alaska's fantastically huge with lots of space in between, so you're not, can't necessarily get a small airplane everywhere you'd like to in a short amount of time. All right, just climbing here. So some other things about these mountains is the textures in this mountain range are real mixed bags. Some of them are pretty good looking, and some of them look pretty darn awful. The cragginess, I know I've said this before, but as we get closer to these mountains, I'll have some video and some pictures here that we can look at and see what the cragginess and how rugged these mountains really are. But in particular, in these Talkeetnas, the textures, and you can see this right here, this is just pretty awful. And then also, as you move up the mountainside, you see a lot of tall, basically evergreen trees. That is not normal. It kind of turns to shrub about here and stays shrubby and gets tundra-y. And then there's lots and lots of spaces with rocks, exposed rock walls, rock faces, that is. So, here we are now pointed towards Archangel Valley is this way. You can actually get out there by road. Not too far in. I think the road gets pretty impassable pretty rapidly. And then off to our left is actually Hatcher's Pass, so Independence Gold Mine is up in this valley. We're going to spin past that real quick as a comparison, and then Hatcher Pass, which leads out to Willow, goes that way, and we'll go kind of through there. And then if you go off to our right, there's another valley here we can't quite see, and that would be, I forget the name of the valley, but that one can take you out to what's called Bomber Glacier, where a World War II era bomber crashed a long time ago. And as it's expensive and incredibly difficult to try to recover things up in the mountains, frequently they just get left. Usually that manifests itself in the form of old mining equipment. So for example, up in this Independence Gold Mine, there's a ton of old mining equipment, buildings and things that were never dismantled or taken down because it's not worth it. And if you go south towards Crow Pass, near Girdwood, off to our south, kind of way that direction, more or less there, there's also some old mining equipment, and I think the same is generally true throughout this region. Now, as we were flying over here, and I don't think I got a picture of this, there's a ridge right kind of here, and there's some of these great, I forget the name of them, they're these overhangs that you get when you get wind blowing snow, and they're kind of hiking right on that, and they were skiing, folks were skiing down here. We didn't see anybody actually skiing, but you could see the tracks, they were here. I'll pop up pictures as we fly past. So we're going to head this direction. This is all frozen up for real and right now, so we wouldn't see this, but that's flows into what becomes the little Susitna River, which is more or less directly below us. Yeah, and here we are, just about where we want to be, nice and trimmed out. And the flight, when we came out here, it was this calm with about this much chop. It's a little bumpy, but it wasn't really bad. This is really perfect as far as what we experienced. In fact, if anything, this bumpiness here is even more so. Yeah, so that ridge I'm talking about was this one right here. And we actually flew kind of close to them without being super close. We had other air traffic moving through this corridor right here and kind of wanted to slow down and one, take a look, and two, make sure we were clear of that rest of that air traffic here. So a couple of things that I personally learned while flying, as I've never been in a real cockpit before. I mean, I have, but never like this. My friend who took me out in his aircraft, his Pacer, explained a lot about flying and the mechanics, and gave me some really specific examples of stalls and all kinds of things like that. Of course, we didn't do it in the mountains. That was flight seeing here is what we were doing. Um, but once we got over this, out that direction, we did some of that. Now you can see Denali and Foraker just out there on the Alaska range. This is very true to life. You can see them. In fact, they're even brighter and more visible really in real life. I don't know that I got a good picture. And then this direction, we're looking south towards the South Alaska range as it moves into the North Aleutian range. And there's Mount Susitna, that direction. Super cool stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and take a quick gander at Independence Gold Mine here. That will be fun. I think I'm going to break this video into two parts. We'll have this part today, and then there's another valley I want to explore. We did some fun bush kind of flying that I think I can replicate in the simulator here, and I'd love to see how it differs. So I think that would be pretty cool. So down below us, off to our left here, is Independence Gold Mine. Look at this. This is really spectacular. It felt super close to these mountains here, honestly. And this is all just beautiful, beautiful, like rugged rock faces and things like that. There's that Independence Gold Mine. You can see the parking areas and so on. And this is a popular tourist attraction, and it was in its day in the early 1900s one of the most productive gold mines in the world. Go ahead and spin around here. Have a look down at those buildings. That's our Independence Gold Mine here. We'll try to pop in a picture if I can. And then we'll go ahead and swing through the pass here. Here we go. Very nice. All right, the pass is right here, the actual Hatcher Pass itself. Too much need here. Very good. So right on the top of one of these mountains, see, I got to orient myself. I think it was over here. Was actually the first mining claim. And while we can't see it, over here there was this great zigzag, and I didn't get a good picture of it. But a zigzag, somebody put switchbacks in here, and actually still through this ridge right here, there's still a shed, and we flew right over it, and that shed is no doubt supporting an active gold mining operation, and active gold mining operations exist all throughout here, and in the summertime you can kind of see that, and there's no trespassing signs and that sort of thing all throughout as well, as people don't really like visitors at their gold mines. They're working operations. So cool. So you can see the Alaska Range peeking into view. Again, these are not super spectacular in the simulator, but they're very true to life in the sense that this is kind of what it looks like. Again, more rugged here, and right here over this ridge is where we saw that little shed just up top there. I'm trying to remember exactly where we cut over. I feel like it was over here, but you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and have a look there. Isn't that something? So now here we are in the real airplane looking at Denali and Foraker, and so you can kind of do a bit of a comparison, and also the mountains. You can see a comparison there, these mountains we're in. Great, and there we are. So that's pretty neat stuff. Such a beautiful flight. Sadly, as we look out over these flats here in the Susitna River off in the distance, can't really see it from here. Mount Susitna, again, the southern Alaska range. This is the part where I kind of cut out taking pictures and things like this as I took over flying here and got my very first experience flying, more or less just like this. We were pointed at the volcano and I took over. And I will say my one issue is that I couldn't get the seat to move back, and so it was really uncomfortable to get the rudder pedals. Um, and if you've played the sim for any amount of time, you'll know that coordinated turns aren't really a thing in the standard flight models. I thought it was something that you could turn off, and it turns out you can't. It seems to me that the Coronado, um, is it the Piper PA-44, I think? Oh, the Seminole. That one does require some coordinated turning as well. And then we flew out over here and did some stalls and goofed off like that. And I learned a lot about how, you do coordinated turns, why you do coordinated turns, and then of course how you might practice those. And then the stall was a lot of fun, and that's, I think, when I realized aviation is so much fun, and I am not ready to pursue anything remotely like my own pilot's license, maybe someday in the future. That's fantastic here. And this is just gorgeous, and it was so beautiful flying over this. I just can't tell you. And it was a lot of fun to hang out with my friend, and we had my son with us, and it was great. So I think I've talked for quite long enough at this point. I think we'll come back in the next video, and hopefully that'll be out in a couple of days, and we'll look at some of the other places we flew. We were out for just about an hour, and so I want to do it all at once, do too much talking. So anyways, if you enjoyed this video, thank you so much for watching. Maybe hit a like if you wouldn't mind. Otherwise, again, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you in the next video.